Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How, my dear students, do you hear me? Answer. If you hear me, just answer.
Yes.
Right? Dana? Nihal?
Yes.
Huh? Do you hear me?
Yes.
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 It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay. Now we will start our new lesson for today. Inshallah, we will discuss active and passive voice. This is one of the most important grammar lessons that we have in this unit. It's unit 7, grammar. Okay? As you see, let me share this. Do you see the screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's okay. Let's start with our lesson. The first thing that we have to know is active and passive voice. What is the active and passive voice? Active and passive voice is the form of a verb takes to indicate whether the subject of the verb performs or receives the action. What do you mean by this forming for, oh my God. Sorry for interruption. Okay. Again, what is the voice? The voice is the form of a verb text to indicate whether the subject of the verb performs or receives the action. It means you are going to know the difference between the voice itself first. What is the voice itself? To know, many students ask us many times, what is the active and the passive voice and what is the difference between them? To know the difference, you should know what is the voice itself. As I told you before, that the voice is the form of a verb, takes to indicate whether the subject of the verb perform the action or receive the action itself. Exactly as we said, Mona cleans the room. This is, Mona here is our subject and she is doing something. But when you say the room is cleaned by Mona, it means the subject here receive the action. Let's start with our lesson for the first point. We have to know, firstly, the difference between the active and the passive voice. The first thing, when it is important for you to know who did the action or the verb, it is the active, okay? Again. But if it is important to know who did the action, it sure is going to be the active voice. If the person doing an action is unknown or it is not important for you to know who is doing this action, you are going to use the passive voice. Do you understand? Hi girls, do you understand?
Yeah.
It's
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Who can tell me now what is the difference between the active voice and the passive voice? Huh? As the main of the difference. What is the main difference between active voice and the passive voice? Who can tell me?
Active is when like you need to know who did the action, and passive it's when it's not important to know who did the action.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. This is the main difference between the active and the passive voice. If you know who did the action, it means it's an active. If you don't know or it is not important for you to know who did the action, it means you are going to use the passive voice. This is the main difference between the active and the passive voice. As we said before, you should know what is the voice. The voice is that means the action itself. If the subject do the action or receives the action. Do you understand me?
Yes.
It's okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, May, now can you know what is the difference between active and passive voice?
Yes, miss.
What is the difference?
Active voice, it's important to know who did the action.
Yeah.
And passive, it's not important to know who did the action.
Good. Now,
Okay.
pay attention with me. We have an example. John cleans the room. This one is an active voice. How we know if it is an active or is not? If you have the subject here is doing the action itself, that means it's active voice. Yeah, to know if your sentence is active or not, you are going to say John is your subject, then cleans is the verb or the action that what John did, then the room is your object. This is the example of active. This is example for the active voice, okay? Then this is the first step that we are going to do. To know the active, it means we have the subject who's did an action and what is this action itself, okay? Now, if you want to change from active sentence into passive voice, what are the rules that we need to change from active to passive voice? Okay, we have some steps, girls. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
It's okay. The first step to change from active to the passive voice, that you have to start the passive sentence itself, the passive sentence, with the object of your sentence, okay? It means you are going to start with the word room, okay? You are going to start with the room itself. Then you are going to identify the tense of the sentence. You have a sentence, you have to underline the verb, okay? Then decide the tense, decide the tense, decide the tense. This is the second step. It's the most important part for changing from active to passive voice. The first one, to identify the object as exactly is going to be the first for your passive sentence. It's going to be your subject or the new subject for your sentence. Identify the tense of the main sentence of active. Then you are going to use part of verb to be and past participle of the main verb. This is the three parts that we need to change from active into passive voice. Who can tell me them again? Hi, Dana.
Start the passive sentence with the object of the active sentence.
Good.
But then identify the tense of the verb in the active sentence.
Good. The
If it is
tense of the
present simple
verb. The tense of the verb is very important for you. Then
put the main verb in the past participle.
good. But you have to use a part of verb to be. Okay? A part of verb to be. It's okay? Now, Batul, can you tell us how can we change, or what are the steps to change from active to passive voice? Can you tell us?
Start the passive sentence with the object of the active sentence.
Yeah.
Identify the tense of the verb in the active sentence if it is present simple, past simple. So you must revise the tense.
Tamam.
Put the main verb in the past participle.
Good. That's right. Okay, girls. Now